Ladies and gentlemen, now let us begin with our first panel discussion on digital disruption in business and the role of ERP. The discussion will be moderated by Mr. Hamid Saeed, who is an expert in conducting workshops and seminars for the Fortune 500 companies. Please put your hands together for Mr. Hamid Saeed. As our first panelist, please welcome on stage Mr. Faisal Qamar, the co-founder and the managing partner of HRSG. Moving on to our second panelist, please welcome on stage Mr. Qashif Effendi, the Chief Executive Officer of Ream Rice Mills. Please welcome on stage Mr. Ghulam Abbas, the Chief Financial and General Manager at Panther Towers Limited. Please welcome on stage Mr. Nadeem Malik, the Director of Oracle.
Assalamu alaikum. I know it's quite early here. My name is Hamid Saeed, and I'm from New York. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll get into the discussion. I am a graduate engineer from UIT. That's where I started my career. And, then I decided to do some soul searching and wanted to know what I really want to do in my life. So then I went to New York and I did MBA from there. And then life went on and still was exploring. And then finally I landed at FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. And that's where I found my calling. When I got there, I said, oh my God, this is what I want to do in my life. And then I became a fashion designer, image consultant. And then when I came out of the gates, that's where my story really began. So I want to, from an IT point of view, I want to share some, a little bit of my past interaction with it. When I met Jerome Schwartz, the inventor of barcoding, he was intrigued by what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a hybrid of image consultation and customized clothing. And so I wanted to build a portal. So he said to me I should talk to a lady. Her name was Faith Popcorn. She was the management guru at that time, and she had written the book. So when I met her, she told me, or she kind of predicted that everything is going to be sold on internet. Everything's going to be, this is I'm talking about way back there in 1999. So her book was predicting that apparel is going to be sold on internet, even cars are going to be sold on internet, houses are going to be sold. At that time, nobody could fathom that how it's going to happen. So I got very intrigued, and I said, oh my God, I said, this lady's telling me this whole revolution is coming, so how I am going to adopt to that? So in 2001, I started creating a portal for customization of apparel. I want to tell you a little bit about that. So I said to myself, I said, I looked around all the, various technologies, this and that, but nothing I could find that could put all the data in one place. There were CRMs, they were running separate. Financial data was running on another platform, this and that. So I said, okay, I'm going to create a portal and where I'm going to put all the data of all my customers, and I want to have one view of my customer. I mean, one view was a new term at that time, one view of a customer. So anyway, my vision was this, that if at one point in time, quickly I want to go into my data and I want to find out a lawyer who's my customer in California and who has blonde hair and blue eyes and who is 5'10" and who works in a law firm which is more than 25 lawyers. I want to, segregate, and I want to just get right to it. So I built this model which was giving me instant information about that. Now, what was relevant? I mean, why I wanted to do that? Because I want to service my customers better. So this way, when I have a new fabric, instead of sending it to all the customers, I could send it to him what's applicable to him. So that was my thought process there. So thank God, I was able to do that. That was the first customized model in the United States. And so that's my kind of little bit exposure to IT and all that. And later on, I became a trainer. First I dressed Governor of New York, then I dressed President of Bar Association. Here was Jerome Schwartz. So I dealt with like very top guys. And then that landed me into consulting companies, KPMG, Deloitte, Pricewaterhouse and Young. I was their dressing etiquette guy. I will tell them how to dress. But behind all that, this was that model which I shared with all these people from Wharton School of Pennsylvania. All my clients, or they were from top universities, and they would, when they saw the admin side of my portal that I built, they called it F-16. It had so much power. It has the scalability and this and that. So I'm not an ERP guy. I've never worked with that, but just a little story. So I want to, the bottom line of this story is that why we are here today and why we're talking about this is how we can service our customer better. How can we cut costs? How can we be more efficient? And how we can be a disruptor instead of getting affected by disruption. So that's my small introduction, brief introduction rather. I have distinguished guests here. They are living it every day. This whole transformation which is taking place. They're very, very experienced people, and I would all going to definitely learn from them. I think their names have been already called, and what I will do is instead of, I should tell them who they are, I would like them to tell you who they are and their credentials, and that, so maybe that's where we should start. So starting with you, sir, would you please open your mic? I think the mic is open. Just tell the audience, first of all, about you, about your qualifications, maybe briefly. And then most importantly, and then I'll ask you the question, but most importantly, how you are using technology in what you're doing today. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Hamid sir. Brief intro, I'm a graduate of IBA from Karachi, 1994, and then I worked for organizations like Caltex, Philips, Unilever, Tetley, Abu Dhabi Industrial Corporation. So I've done B2B, B2C across Pakistan, across Pan-Pacific, across MENA region. And for the last 5 years, I'm CEO of Ream Rice Mill, which is a joint venture of Al Ghurair and Al Muhaddib Group, based out of Lahore head office, and Murid Ke Narwar is our factory. I also am passionate about teaching, so I've been teaching adjunct faculty with IBA, Zabis, BNU, LUMS, a lot of institutes. So that's a side passion. The journey of IT for me, I've been raised and born in the sales and marketing function. So I've grown through the ranks of sales and marketing. So my interaction is more on the front end with the consumers. And the need for IT obviously came in when the consumers switched on those platforms. So, you have to be in sync, as the previous speakers have said. Ream Rice, जब मैं आया तो ये बिल्कुल एक trading house की तरह manage हो रहा था, even though multinationals थे. Fox Pro पे इनका IT system था, HR department नहीं था, IT department नहीं था. उधर से और company was almost bankrupt when I joined. तो वहाँ से लेके सफ़र company को ठीक करने का, फिर Abbas के साथ मिलके SAP Business One implement करने का. This is a little journey that I've had. It's not been easy because जो grassroots level पे लोग हैं वो उसी तरह पटवारी system के trained हैं, उनको system पे लाना, फिर information लाना, फिर data accuracy होना. So, it's wonderful in forums like this, and I'm, like I confessed, I'm a digital immigrant and I'm not from the IT field. So I look at things differently. I look at हमारे marketing में एक बड़ी पुरानी कहावत थी कि marketing is too important to be left to the marketeers. I think it applies to IT now, that IT is too important to be left to the IT department. Everybody has to be IT savvy in the organization, और यहाँ एक बहुत बड़ा gap आ रहा है because you have the techies and then you have the idiots like me. सो ये जो ब्रिज करना है गैप, इसको करने की ज़रूरत है मेरे नज़दीक। रीम टू माई नॉलेज इज़ द फर्स्ट SMP rice mill in probably the world to have gone on to SAP. This is what Abacus told me, because they didn't have any model worldwide of implementing this in the rice sector. And we had even grassroots issues, like जब हम पैडी सेलेक्ट करते हैं मिलिंग के लिए तो हम तस्वीरें लेते हैं कुकिंग की। अब वो तस्वीर कैसे लोड हो सिस्टम में, कोई ऑप्शन नहीं था। छोटी सी इस तरह की चीज़ें बता रहा हूँ आपको कि वो जो जिस प्रोसेस से हम गुजरे। So this is a little bit about Hamid Saab, my background, and then you can shoot any questions.
All right, so I'm going to ask him I would say on my mind, the question, and I'm sure it's on your mind as well, is this, that how you can preempt disruption. And instead of becoming, affected by disruption, business disruption, you actually become the disruptor yourself. So.
Okay, I think last year था या उससे एक साल पहले यहाँ एक Ad Asia conference हुई थी, and Tom Goodwin came here, जो digital Darwinism के author थे, and he was doing a roundup of the Pakistani startups, and he said something wonderful. He said कि मैं जितने 10 big आपके names हैं, Park Wheels ले लें, Daraz ले लें, या जो भी थे, उन सब की जब मैं success stories पढ़ रहा था, तो he said the common thing was they were all focused on money and not on people. So I think for me this was the key, कि जब भी disruption की बात होती है, if it is focused on people, if you read the book Upstarts जो Brad Stone ने लिखी थी, जिसमें Airbnb और Uber की success story है, it was all about, the guy was standing in San Francisco looking for a cab, बारिश हो रही है, वहाँ से Uber का idea आया. तो real insights, real people, local surrounding. It wasn't that they were looking to disrupt the world. They were looking to solve a genuine problem. Airbnb वाला जो है, he went to Washington to attend Obama's inauguration, couldn't find a room. और वहाँ से वो idea germinate किया. तो ये जो the world as I see it now, और हामिद साहब का जो सवाल है, I was absolutely blown when I saw this statistic, क्योंकि मैं पढ़ाता हूँ तो थोड़ा पढ़ना पड़ता है, कि जो world का data इस वक्त है, what we have in gazillions of whatever bytes they use, उसका 90% last 2 साल में produce हुआ है. So you can imagine the exponential way in which data is growing. So how do you make sense of all this? So you've got all this unstructured data, but thankfully now you have machine learning. So you have AI to make sense of it. For organizations that want to disrupt and not be disrupted, as Hamid Saab said, it's not just enough to have that data and have machine learning. It has to be about people as well. Who's going to implement all this? I consult for a lot of companies, and trust me, the main issue is how do you create actionable insights from the data that you have, even with the machine learning tools that you have? Because who's going to transform that into insights and then execute it? अभी एक company का नाम नहीं लूँगा, इज्जत बचा लेता हूँ. They invested millions on getting one of these big 4 companies to do a wonderful strategy exercise for them. Millions of dollars. आ गया 6 महीने हो गए, result नहीं आया. They hired another firm, which is by the way represented here. I won't name them. उनसे उन्होंने पूछा हुआ क्या, गड़बड़ क्या हुई? उन्होंने कहा जी एग्जीक्यूशन नहीं हुई ताड़ी. तो आप स्ट्रैटेजी बना लें, बड़ा सा एक प्लेटफॉर्म के कि who's going to execute, where are the people, and have you trained them to be able to respond to those insights that you generate out of this? So मेरे नज़दीक एक बहुत बड़ा इशू ये है जो टॉम गुडविन ने आइडेंटिफाई किया था हमारे लिए, where is the focus on people? And I could speak for hours on every sector in Pakistan, including banking, my favorite, where it's not focused on people at all. It's all focused about making money, about implementing some tool. मैं छोटी मिसाल देके ख़त्म करता हूँ, बात लंबी हो जाएगी. मैकडॉनल्ड्स जाएँ ज़रा, I live in Bahria town, एक डिजिटल कियोस्क लगा हुआ है. I went there, मैंने उस पर ऑर्डर किया, पे भी कर दिया कार्ड से. जब लेने गया उसने कहा ये वाला आइटम तो है नहीं स्टॉक में. मैंने कहा फिर ये क्यों लगाया हुआ है यहाँ, नज़र बट्टू है आपका ये. जब इससे आपका इन्वेंट्री सिंक नहीं है तो फिर इसकी ज़रूरत क्या है? ये वाली डिजिटलिज्म नहीं चाहिए, इससे डिसरप्शन नहीं आती. ये कॉस्मेटिक चेंजेस हैं. जो रियल डिसरप्शन आती है when you focus on people and then come up with solutions which then integrates the data with machine learning.
अच्छा सर, आपने ऊबर की बात की है. A lot of people that, I've been reading a lot, and they claim that Uber is not actually disruption in a very, the way that we call disruption. वो कहते हैं Skype disruption create किए, Skype ने या Zoom ने. These are like, underlined, Google, Wikipedia ने जो है वो disruption create किया है. As far as Uber is concerned, they saw a need and they filled it. और दूसरी बात इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा बताइए कि do you feel that way कि Uber ने actually disrupt किया है या कि there are some other underlying technologies
आपका मेरा डायलॉग हो रहा है सर पैनलिस्ट और ये बट ऊबर ने बिल्कुल किया 100
अच्छा
year
दूसरी
old
बात
history.
सर सेकंड ज़रा मेरा सेकंड क्वेश्चन ये है आपने you emphasize on people कि लोगों की ट्रेनिंग नहीं हुई है अब Uber में देखें कि I mean there's very few people involved I mean in terms of this I mean they created this and then basically we all know that how it works and all that तो उसमें ज़रा बताइए कि उन्होंने अपने people कैसे I mean because we see less people there managing it maybe there's a whole big team I don't see it तो ये दोनों चीज़ों के बारे में ज़रा
देखिए उन्होंने क्या किया मैं कह रहा 100 year old हिस्ट्री थी टैक्सी की उसको पूरे को डिसरप्ट किया जस्ट बाय एन ऐप और वो क्यों क्रिएट हुआ बिकॉज समबडी हैड दिस ब्रेन वेव कि यार किसी के पास गाड़ी होगी जिसके पास जगह होगी जो ले जा सकता होगा उसको अगर हेल कर लूँ पैसे दे दूँ तो हो जाए उनकी अपनी कोई नहीं है आई मीन ये बड़ी एक फेमस इन्फोग्राफिक है कि a lot of companies don't own any assets now
right
all they have is so what they did was and this is the key I think that you have the technology now and you have the insights now how do you make it actionable
right
हमारे यहाँ जब मैं पाकिस्तानी सीन देखता हूँ स्टार्टअप्स का तो क्या होता है धोबी ऑनलाइन कर दें ग्रोसरी ऑनलाइन कर दें यानी कि ग्रोसर्स मर गए हैं धोबी मर गए हैं हमें उनको ऑनलाइन करने की ज़रूरत है जो रियल नीड्स हैं उनको आप ऑटोमेट नहीं कर रहे फाइनेंशियल सेक्टर इंक्लूजन अभी भी आपके यहाँ बहुत नेसेंट है बिग एरिया फॉर डिसरप्शन वेटिंग टू हैपन तो आई थिंक द फोकस ऑन पीपल इज इम्पॉर्टेंट बिकॉज पीपल आर द वंस हु गोइंग टू डिलीवर ऑन दोज promises that the technology is there for us to make.
Okay, great. All right, we'll come back to you after a round of introductions and questions. My next very distinguished panel member is Basab. Nice to have you here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and then how you have applied this technology in your company that you are GM of right now. So please tell the audience about your experience.
This is Ghulam Abbas. By profession, I'm chartered accountant and also the member of ICMAP. And I've been in the industry for last 20 years. And fortunately, I got the opportunity to get the ERP implemented in each and every organization that I have worked for till today. Starting from the Great Plain, and then to Oracle, and then finally SAP in the Panther Tires. So I have seen with my eyes how the business transforms by using these ERP systems. So I will be sharing my experience with you later in the discussion session. Something more about myself. I'm here not to speak about some technicalities about the technical digital disruption, but to give the viewpoint from the perspective of businesses.
Okay, so my question is then how an ERP platform can help companies deal with digital disruption taking place in the industry?
So, I know you are also a businessman. Digital disruption is not new to the businessman.
Okay.
It's happening ever since the first computer was invented. It's happening since that.
Right.
Why digital disruption is happening? It's just focusing on two things. Individuals, we as a human being, and secondly the businesses.
Right.
Identifying the needs, giving
can
innovative
address
solution
them.
to the customers,
You can talk to them.
and then giving the solution to the problems of the businesses. This is all what the digital disruption is doing to the businesses. If we talk about particularly businesses, if any business starts, one of the basic objective of the business is to produce the product or services. When business start producing product and services, one of the chief things that is required from that business is to have the highest quality of product or services. And the second function of the business, when it's become successful to produce the highest quality of product and services, is to how to produce that particular product or services at a cheaper cost. That is the second thing. And the third, when the business produce the quality product and been able to produce at a cheaper cost than its competitor, the third most important point that how to sell it in the market and how to get the growth in the business. This ERP system and subsequent digital disruptions, all these things are just happening on, just focusing on these three things. business, this helping the business to get the quality of quality products, and then at a cheaper cost, it helped the business to become more competitive in the market, not in terms of quality, but also in terms of pricing as well. And the third, it's encapsulate the whole the market intelligence and the data science that helps the business to take some conscious decisions with regard to the market.
So in Pakistan's perspective, which company in Pakistan do you think is using this ERP in the best possible way?
ERP system is just provide the basic infrastructure to the organization. I'm talking about the
Okay, let's talk about the digital transformation and disruption. Which Pakistani company is I think on the forefront? Do you know any company that which is like at the top of the game?
I believe there are so many companies. I don't want to name anyone
Right,
at
okay.
this point of
All
time,
right.
but I will be talking about something from my experience. ERP system, in fact, provide the infrastructure for any organization to build upon for the forthcoming digital disruption in this era. So, if any company has ERP system and embarked upon that ERP, that Sajjad said, it's not a project, it's a journey to the excellence. So, with every step when digital disruption happens, that like internet, we all know about Internet of Things. When this Internet of Things combined with the ERP system, it makes the ERP system even more valuable for the organizations, because any organization that struggle with having ERP system is just because of its cost, not only the project cost but also the running cost. But these disruptions that is happening now are just making ERP system more viable for the organizations.
Okay, we're going to move to our next very distinguished panel member, Mr. Nadeem Malik. Welcome him. He's a very seasoned and veteran in, real IT guy, from Oracle. Sir, would you like to just give
Thank
your
you,
brief
Hamid.
introduction first, and then
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. From the age of technology, probably I'm older than dinosaur. What I feel is the ERP is very unfashionable. In technology, what I found out, the only two terms change in ERP. When I was growing up, people used to call it MIS, Management Information System, and today we call it ERP. So my 32 years career, I think he asked me to just briefly run you through. I'm in industry for the last 32 years. 32 years ago, I started my career with U.S. Department of Commerce, and over the years, I've been around most of the places in the globe. Had an opportunity to work for NESPAC, had opportunity to work for EDS, had opportunity to work for various organizations, Microsoft, IBM, Huawei, and today I'm in Oracle. Learning is a continuous journey. I think this morning I took a 2-hour lecture on one of the courses which I'm required to complete this week. So we all do that, right? Sakab, I'm sure you're aware of it. They ask us to learn it. So my 2 cents, I think, had this topic been ERP different, probably would have more engaging audience. But I think I'll explain what my learning is over 32 years, seeing from MRP, MRP1, MRP2, to MIS, and today we are called it ERP.
Thank you, sir. My question to you is that, is the current ERP platform capable to help companies with this digital disruption, or do we need a modern ERP platform?
I think we have heard the distinguished speakers earlier. They try to explain what ERP is. ERP is nothing but a system of record. I think that's, we all know. It gathers the data, financial data, HR data, customer data. It's a system of record, and that has been for many, many years in the past. I think that is changing the shapes. When we talk about business intelligence, we talk about the next phase, how the data analytics will come into the play, how the big data come into the play, how the artificial intelligence and machine learning will come to the play. That will bring some kind of disruption. So what amazes me, what I had a joke with one of my colleagues. Disruption means inconvenience. That's the word is, right? You're disturbing me. This is causing a disruption. It's called inconvenience. How an inconvenience can help your organization. So you need to understand the topic of it. So when we call digital disruption, it means something is disturbing something. And how that can help my organization, that's a key to understand for every organization. I think that's what happened, what my experience says. Most of the ERP systems, when they start going to implementation, organizations only lifted and shifted the current processes. They never really thought about it, what technology can add to it, what can the benefit they can bring into it. When they shift the manual process and lift to a computerized system, the inherited problem also shifted. And that's basic problem still exists in many organizations. And that's where I think the shift is coming in. That's where the most of resources coming in. How to do the business re-engineering, how the business processing needs to be done, because technology has improved tremendously in that. I think that's where the disruption comes in. When you start thinking about those lines, then your data is right. You don't have a duplication of records. You have a more monetizable data where you can come and do the monetization, and then you can run all those fancy terms on top of it, which are machine learning and algorithms of AI, and how the AI algorithms can be learned, because the market dynamics is changing. Somebody mentioned the TikToker can shift the whole your supply chain or demand in the market. I think that's where the algorithms comes into play. That's artificial intelligence is. I think disruption is mindset change.
Right. Well, mindset change. So I would like to, I know you are, on the team of Prime Minister IT team. He's, we are glad that, honored that he's here. So could you please tell us, what government is doing and what kind of programs and where this disruption is taking place and for the betterment of our, country?
I think the task of PM Task Force for IT and Telecom is twofold. The first fold was how we can remove the obstacles to grow our industry. IT industry in an export manner and also domestic manner as well. So there are a lot of problems exist in our laws and our tax regulations and other things, facilitations available. I think that's the one part, how we can facilitate the organization locally and how we can bring the conducive environment to it. That's the first part. The second part is what kind of opportunities the government can do, because if you look at historically, the government is always the biggest buyer of everything. So if the government buys technology, government go to the e-governance, government go to the citizen services, that's the opportunity for the local industry to grow. I think that's what the second part is. In both part, we have a lot of success. You've seen Digital Pakistan initiatives, which a lot of industries, a lot of government organizations are coming online, and they are not only coming online, but they're providing a lot of facilities. And it's COVID-19 pandemic, I think, has put a lot of pressure on them to do services which citizen can avail on the doorstep. So I think these are the two aspects which we've been have some very success.
Okay, great. Now let me move on to my next panelist, very distinguished. I have had the opportunity to meet him in Karachi. Sir, welcome, sir. Faisal Qamar Sahab, and he is the founder of HRSG. I think they're making not I think, but I know they're making a tremendous difference in terms of BPO, right? Business processing, outsourcing. He will introduce himself, what, his background is, and then, how, they are running their company and in terms of contribution they're making in business in Pakistan. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, sir, and very good afternoon to everyone. I will start with my intro. I am one of the co-founders of HRSG, and at the same time, I'm the managing partner of it. By profession, I'm an FCA, and I did my HR from Cornell University, so I am finance and HR professional doing technology business for the past decade. For the last 11 years, I'm on the entrepreneurial path and trying to make organizations digital, and that's what contribution HRSG has. We are close to about 50,000 people organization. We are amongst the top largest employers in Pakistan, and trying to contribute both with technology, both bringing innovative solutions in the domain of HR for the past 3 decades now. When it comes to the discussion, the panel, I start off, with an example that I've learned just 4 days ago in Dubai. I used to live in Dubai, and after I usually go there every 3-4 months. So this time when I went to a restaurant for a breakfast, and you used to take out an hour ticket from the machine, and then you put up inside your car, and then you walk out. This time when I went to the ticket counter, the thing is, they asked me, what is your car number? So, and I never thought that they're going to ask me about my car number, and then I went, took a picture of my car. It was a bit far. Then I gave the entire number a couple of times. As he mentioned, it's a disruption, is inconvenience. 2-3 times, he asked me to write it correctly. I put it correctly, then I got a ticket. And then I put the ticket there. And what I found out later, that those people who used to come and check, your validity is expired or not, they have removed all of them from the entire department. And the entire AI is working for them. So after 1 hour, if my car is parked there, the AI is going to assess on those spots, and I'm going to get my challan and mukhalfa then and there, parked under the registration book of that car. So what I'm trying to extract out of here, that this is where the world is going. And the thing is, over here, we are trying, on this fantastic platform, learning and unlearning, what ERP is all about and what kind of systems we need to implement, over here. And second thing is what happened. I am selling enterprise cloud for the last 11 years. I'm always on the other side of the change. Every time people are telling me why it cannot happen. And from the last 4 years, I'm selling my digital solution, and then COVID came. And when COVID came, the thing is, everyone was looking for a digital solution. So, from 5,000 users, in the COVID era, I crossed 35,000, active employee base, using my app, for anything and everything. And of course, when it comes to digital disruption, now the thing is, our only application is available on the mobile, where you can call for your payslip and the payslip is going to come. So the thing is, this is the level of sophistication the world is going. ERP, as Sajjad in his speech clarified, this is one of the most abusive term, over the years. Everybody don't know nothing about it, including myself to an extent. But the thing is, we want to implement an ERP. And the thing is, when you talk about ERP, half the people still in the industry ask me, what are you selling is that ERP? So what I have been trying to explain, at many forums, that, barring 2-3 global products, SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, the others cannot be considered an ERP because they are the most sophisticated products available globally. And then, now the concept of ERP is a strategic framework. You can have multi-specialists knitted around the entire concept and go into integration. We are scary people when you talk about, you go for a presentation, half the time the head of IT is talking about integration because the head of IT feel that integration is the biggest buzzword and it cannot happen easily. We became, basic issues, a rocket science, with us.
Right.
So I speak very realistic because I face change. The buying of ERP is a very simple decision. You go ahead. We don't distinct between core and non-core. When we go in an automation drive, we say we have to buy one product, irrespective where we need to save, where we need to invest. And at the end of the day, we don't rely and believe in the word of transformation and sustainability. Because we buy it, and the thing is, the classical paper written in the West in 80s and 90s about classical failure of an ERP, most of them applies here. And the reason is that, we don't buying and we do not thinking of upgrading ourselves, embracing technology, embracing digital disruption. We go on a brand. And that's, where, the basic fundamental comes. And, people like all of us together, can, make, more awareness in terms of the mindset what we have. And, make sure that when you're buying something, at the end of the day, it is coming on ground as well. And it is sustainable. And the thing is, at the end of the day, if I'm not willing to change, and if I'm buying something very big, at the end of the day, it's going to be losses. And what happens on these losses? That those losses compromise the credibility of that product, and at the same time the credibility of the people who actually endorse to buy it. So the thing is, change is important, and sir, if we don't embrace digital disruption, the thing is our competition will take us way ahead. So at the end of the day, we need to surrender. And when people ask me, how to, cope up with the disruption and digital transformation, I say hire Z generation. I can't cope up. If I even try, I can't cope up. I have to have people who can think differently than how I think. So the thing is, that's the only way you would, be going about it. And it's a fantastic show, and I'm sure it's going to be a huge learning, for everyone and whoever are listening to us, through digital media. So thank you very much.
All right, so a follow-up question with you. You mentioned that Oracle and SAP, they're the major players. Recent study, Deloitte said that the formula for going forward is, for agility and innovation, is ERP plus cloud. So what are your views on that, sir?
Sorry?
ERP plus cloud. Cloud.
ERP in a cloud. That's my favorite subject, and after this, I'm talking about that only. I have been selling cloud for the last 11 years as an enterprise cloud, and I'm going to share my stories with you.
Right.
It took me good 14 months to convince my first client. That was not to a local company, it was a multinational. So that's the journey, because at the end of the day, if we are not going on cloud today, and I am always surprised for the past 10, 11 years, that if any vendor selling desktop application in 2021, I am completely surprised. And the thing is, out there, customers buying it. That is another surprise. Because at the end of the day, if in 2021, you're buying an absolute technology, obsolete technology, which is never going to work with you, just imagine. The thing is, 2025, all big 3 ERPs are rolling back their support. When they're rolling back their support, and vendors and CIOs are constantly investing on those desktop technologies, what's going to happen? Then they have to make huge cost again to transform.
Right.
Because if anybody is thinking that, you can get away with that with the existing infrastructure, they won't. And the thing is, the answer is very clear. And sooner we understand that, sooner is going to be the real transformation startup. So we need to talk about technology strategy now. Sir,
Right.
the problem is, with us, we talk about ERP, we talk about transformation, we don't talk about, what technology we like to incorporate. Either finance is very strong in the company, who will make the call? What is going to come? Either, finance, either CIO will make a call. Rest of the department, they outsource their decision to somebody who they feel is going to be more literate in terms of technology. No, sir, that has to end. Now, every departmental head will have to be technology savvy, at least to the department he's running. If he's thinking that CIO will make decision on my behalf, this, this approach has only made more, cost to the company than, bringing any kind of ROI.
Great. Well, we're coming towards the end of our panel discussion, so I would like to go back to where we started. Now, sir, you have heard views from other panelists here. What would you like to, in the end, any message or any, your concluding thoughts, Yusuf, starting with you?
I think I'm going to draw this closer to my comfort zone, which is marketing and branding. I see a branding crisis in Pakistan, starting with what you help people with, which is image.
Right.
Right down to the core of what a brand stands for. It pains my heart that we have very few brands exported out of Pakistan, which are sold as Pakistani brands, not चावल में included. हमारे चावल दुबई जाते हैं रीपैक होके made in India करके बिकते हैं दुनिया में. So we have a crisis, and I think even in this forum when I came in, even when I looked around, I see tremendous opportunities to integrate the knowledge that exists with creating a vision for Pakistan to become a global exporter of solutions, of technology. Why are we reliant on others to provide us something? Why can't we be the flag bearers of providing something to others? And I think जो misconstrue किया जाता है from my perspective, brand को हम packaging से relate करते हैं कि डब्बे में डालने चीज़ ये branding हो जाएगी. I think ERP has to be branded better. जो मेरे panelists कह रहे थे, जो solutions हैं जिनकी तरफ जाना है, why are we still selling something which is outdated? Because there's a branding crisis.
Absolutely.
It has to be sold better, it has to be marketed better. this is my 2 cents.
Okay, great. How about you, Abbas? I mean, any concluding thoughts, or after you heard this discussion, or would you like to comment or add something to it?
One of the important things that I would love to share after having listened to the discussion of esteemed panelists, ERP system, once you implement it in true spirit, that can help you to embark upon to the next level of digital disruption that is being happening. I tell you the story in that we got SAP implemented in Panther Tires Limited. We have a complex manufacturing process. We actually produce almost 15 billion products, different kind of products in our manufacturing facilities. And we were struggling to align the manufacturing process from one stage to the final stage. And it was like since the start of the company that we've been able to capture that problem. But that is the SAP system that helped us, that integrated our not only the accounting and finance function, but also the manufacturing function, right from the start till the finalization of the product. And that in fact now made us like to get maximum value out of the manufacturing process of our organization.
Okay, great. Nadeem Sahab, if you'd like to conclude, and I would like to also, because you have been in the trenches for so long, and I would like you to give just a very succinct message to the audience here. What could they take away from here in today's discussion?
I think a few things which I would say my experience says, and we talk about the failure of the factors contributing to the ERP is like veins in your body which collecting the blood. You get information coming from customer to manufacturing to supply chain, your internal finance and everything. The second part is do not do ERP without business re-engineering or business process re-engineering, because otherwise you would not get the benefit which ERP really brings to the. I think third, I cannot more emphasize what the cloud is, because most of the time the implementation and gathering into the organization, because the biggest hurdle of ERP is culture. Organizations do not care about the culture transformation. That's a new terminology. Part of large organizations do have this cultural transformation because the resistance coming into any information system. So the third part is very important, because you cannot be behind the curve as you're implementing the ERP, which is, Sajjad rightly said, is a journey. It's not a product. It's not going to solve your problem in overnight. It's in a journey. You're going to learn about it. The third, the fourth, the most important is stay on the curve, and cloud is the only way to keep you on the curve, because the technology shift is happening so fast. You cannot have on-prem patches and updates and migrations done every other day. But the cloud gives you that advantage that you are up-to-date with the right technologies, right strategies, and right in front of your customer. The customer experience is becoming a more and more personal experience rather than segment experience. I think that is my vote.
Thank you. I would like to segue, cloud, what he said, with my next question and final concluding thoughts with Qamar Sahab. Please, before you give your concluding thoughts, I would like to know that is any company ready for cloud? I mean, what are the challenges go to cloud, when you are, already working with the, current ERP systems? What are the challenges, involved there if you want to take your company to the cloud? And then please give your concluding thoughts.
Yeah, so far, my experience for over a decade, when you're trying to sell, a cloud proposition, the change is a mix, that comes, and challenges, the mix come from.
I mean, can it be done instantly, or is it an evolved process, transition has to go through? I mean, because there might be some disruption in the business while you're going to cloud.
Sir, the myth of cloud hasn't been eroded out, from us.
Okay.
We are on a very fundamental stage, when it comes to accepting cloud in Pakistan.
Okay, all right.
And the first, that starts when you talk about cloud, somebody's domain is about to get free. Because what enterprise the cloud does today, it takes away the 90% job, which is stuck up in terms of infrastructure management by an IT department. So the thing is, if you're going and telling him or her that my solution is on cloud, and then you're free, you need to focus on your core strategic areas and forget about the non-core areas, and let the owner be the owner.
Okay, great.
How he is going to let it go? Because at the end of the day, if he does that, there are 8 servers in his data center, and there are 5 people supporting that system.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, how is going to do it? Company has invested. He was the one who made sure that you need to invest in internal NOC.
Okay, great.
So one part is there. Second part is the mindset, of the top man. The mindset of the top man, we haven't yet convinced the top man that you're more secure on cloud than your local 5 people handling the data.
Right.
This mindset, over there is completely sometimes surprising.
They want to stay with the hardware, like everything.
I was selling in Saudi Arabia the same concept, and one of the locals told me, Faisal, going on a cloud means I'm cutting my one finger. So I'm saying that,
Mindset.
because they are not forward-looking more than us. So the thing is, this is cloud is a myth. We feel that somebody will take things away from us.
Right.
And this is probably we are conveniently selling. And top of that, I get absolutely surprised. Sometimes, people sitting in multinationals and telling me that our region is not going to allow enterprise cloud.
Wow.
And I'm quite sure that this is not the issue coming from there. It's the issue, they themselves. Look at the banking sector. What happened to banking sector?
Right.
They're far behind than the rest of the world.
Yep.
Because at the end of the name of security, I've been going to State Bank for the past 10 years. And finally, they came up with a solution that for non-core, you can have cloud. And the Amazon helped us, to get through with that kind of regulation. But the problem is that we need to do a lot. And we need to do a lot, and we need to make secure the people. And at the end of the day, if we won't do it, sir, what's going to happen? If we won't do it today, we will be making our organization not competitive. Okay. Your competitive battle will be lost if you will be creating everything and everything inside your NOC. And I think, that's probably the purpose of this conference, that the thing is, it has to be a mindset change. And of course, we have, alhamdulillah, abnormal opportunities. I don't claim, because I came up in this country with 0 employee base. I'm serving 155,000 employee base today concurrently on my cloud.
And I know it took you quite a while to sign up the first client, right?
So at the end of the day, from my side, I only have, blessings and duas, for the entire fraternity that, people are embracing. And that process is going to go a long, long way. Look at the HANA coming up with 4 options. Look at Oracle coming up with multiple options.
Right.
That's what is going to transform. And they're going to be a specialist kind of a concept. You're going to distribute between core and non-core.
Right.
You're not going to buy, I don't know why people say that, I'm feeling so good, with all due respect, that I have my payroll is on Oracle and SAP. I don't know why.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, where you need to save.
Yes.
Why would you invest in that? Yes. So the thing is, the management gap is very different. And that probably will have to change in times to come, in this, and our direction is right. So these forums and Ghulam and all of us, will bring that change,
Right.
inshallah.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, here were all these very distinguished panelists, so let's give them a big round of applause. I mean, they shared their knowledge with us. I would like to leave you with a concluding thought. I was reading this the other day. There's a professor at NYU, now that we're talking about even a bigger perspective of what we're talking about here, and his name is Scott Galloway. So if you ever come across his book, he has written this very fascinating book, Pandemics and the Crisis and the Opportunities. And in that book, he talks about that the biggest stockholder creator, the value creator, has been 3 kind of revolutions. One was the globalization, and the second was digitalization, and the third he talks about, the new one, is dispersion, how products are going to be distributed. And he talked about 2 areas, healthcare and education. Now, he said that these things were already in process, but this, COVID has accelerated this. I mean, imagine education. I mean, it could be provided now. We just realized this, that it could be provided to millions of people at a very low cost. I mean, a country like us, if we don't use that, because we don't have that much money, we don't have that much capital, and we can't spend a lot of money on education because we can't build schools and we can't build infrastructure. And imagine what can be done, distributing education and educating our country and the kids at a very, very low cost. And the other is about the health industry and the, health products and, it's bypassing the doctor. I mean, not really bypassing him, but utilizing all this new technologies and how to get this health care right to the patient, So that's another opportunity, the area of opportunity there. So, those are the thoughts that I would like to leave you with. So it's a much bigger picture, I mean, yes, we talked about businesses here, but a whole lot more is going on there. I appreciate your, attendance here, and you came, and your presence, rather. Thank you very much, and I think we would like to wrap it up. Again, I would like to thank you, HR Legend, to make this happen. I tell you something, I was telling Ghulam Mustafa that, I'm from the United States. I don't easily get impressed with, people, what they're doing. I mean, somebody has to do something very substantial to impress me. I think that what he has done here in Pakistan in a very short period of time in this forum, that look at this, I mean, a major conference, I'm sure that we are not that many here, but a lot more are listening on, on Zoom, and this thing is going to be aired to, it's going to be, a lot of people will get to know about this conference. So let's give him a big hand for Mr. Ghulam Mustafa for, having this concept and then making it happen.